So today I'm going to be showing you how to deploy GITEA 1.17.1 on Fedora 32 Server Edition. So I'm going to complete this tutorial on the Amazon EC2 service, and specifically I'm going to deploy a Fedora 32 Server Edition EC2 instance. So I've already signed into my Amazon account. So the first thing that we're going to do is to search for the EC2 service. So click on EC2 from the list of the search results, and then when you get to the EC2 dashboard, what I need you to do is to click on the orange launch instance button. So when you click on launch instance, you'll see a second launch instance option. So just click on that, and then you should then be redirected to the new EC2 launch experience page. So on this page, I need you to type in a name for the server. So in this case, I'm just going to name it Gedia server. And then on the application and OS images section, I need you to select a machine image for Fedora 32. So click on Browse AMIs and then click on the AWS Marketplace AMIs tab. So type in Fedora on the search box, and then click on the Select button on the Fedora 32 search result. So just click on Select and then click on Continue. So once you've actually done that, you just need to scroll down to then choose an Amazon machine instance type actually. So just scroll down, and then on the instance type drop down, just choose an instance type that you want to use for this instance. So in my case, I'm just going to use the free tier eligible instance type, and then scroll down and then click on the create new key pair link. So on the key pair name, just type in a name for your key pair, and then you now need to set it to either .pem or .ppk. So if you're using Windows, you need to select the .ppk option, but if you're using a Mac or a Linux-based computer, you need to choose the .pem option. Click on the Allow HTTP and Allow HTTPS traffic checkboxes, and then scroll down to the Configure Storage section. In this case, just type in 20 gigs as your storage space, and then click on the Launch Instance button. So this then completes the launch deployment process. As you can see, it's now deploying the Fedora 32 instance into Amazon EC2. Once it's done, just click on the View All Instances button, and you should then be redirected to a page where it shows all the instances that are in your account. Click on the instance ID for the Gedia server, and then click on the Connect button. So when you click on the Connect button, what we now need to do is to connect to this instance. So the first thing that we're going to do is to set the key pair file that we've just downloaded to read only. So run the command chmod 400 gedia.pem. So I'm just setting this to read only, as this is a requirement by Amazon Web Services for you to have a read-only key pair file for whenever you're connecting out to an instance. So just go back to the EC2 dashboard and copy the connection URL and then paste it into your terminal. So when you're prompted, just type in yes, and then you should now be able to then be connected to the Fedora 32 instance. So the next thing that we're actually going to do is to install updates. So just run the command dnf update, and you should then be able to then download and install essential package updates that are needed for this installation. The next thing that we're going to do is to install Mariadb and the actual Gedia software. But before we do that, I'm first going to set a custom host name for the server. So just copy that command and then paste it into your terminal. I'm actually going to also include a link to this document in the video description so that you can also follow along this tutorial. The next thing is to edit the cloud.cfg configuration file. And in this configuration file, actually I don't have Nano installed, so let me just install Nano by running the command dnf install Nano. Nano is a well-known Linux configuration and text file editor. So just rerun the command for editing the cloud.cfg configuration file, and I need you to set the preserve host name parameter to true. So you need to set that to true so that every time the Fedora 32 instance restarts or reboots, the hostname will actually persist through reboots. So I'm actually going to reboot the instance now, and the next thing that we're going to do is to point the public IP address for this instance to an A record or a domain or a subdomain. So open up the Amazon Route 53 service, and then when you open up Route 53, I need you to then click on a particular option. So I'm just waiting for Route 53 to open up. Okay, so when it opens, click on hosted zones, and then when you click on hosted zones, I need you to then click on a hosted zone for one of your registered domain names. So in this case, I've actually clicked on one of the hosted zones, and then click on create record. So once you actually do that, paste in the public IP address for the instance on the value field, and then on the record name, I'm just going to set it to Gedia server. But if you intend to set this on your default A record for your domain, you just need to leave the record name field empty. So as you can see, we now have an A record that is pointing to the public IP address of the Fedora 32 instance. So I'm reconnecting to the instance now, and we're going to then proceed with the installation and configuration process. So refer back to the document that you've downloaded, and the next thing that we're going to do is to download and install wget. So just copy that command and paste it into your terminal window. So once you do that, just press enter, and you need to wait for the wget installation process to complete. The next thing is to install git. So dnf -y install git, that's the command you need to run. So just paste in that command and press enter. So once you've actually installed git, the next thing that we're going to do is to actually install the Mariadb database server. So just copy that command and paste it into the Fedora 32 command line interface. So that will then go forward to then download the Mariadb MySQL database server. And then we're going to enable this service to start up automatically every time the system reboots or restarts. So I'm just waiting for the installation to complete, and then we're then going to run that command to then set the service to start up automatically. So that's the command that you need to run, and it will create a symlink that will actually allow Mariadb to start up automatically each time Fedora restarts. So I'm actually starting Mariadb now, and the next thing that I need to do now is to actually check the status of this service. So as you can see, the service is actually marked as active and running. So that's what you need to also have on your terminal window as you follow along this tutorial. So the next important part is to secure the MySQL installation. So just run the command sudo mysql secure installation. So you just need to respond with Y on each prompt, as you can see, and then just clear your screen once you've actually done that. So let's just restart the Mariadb service so that all of the changes that we've actually made will actually take effect. And then I'm actually then going to connect to the Mariadb shell, and we're going to create a database for the Gedia web application. So just run the command create database. It's actually a MySQL query. Create database Gedia, and then the next thing is to create a user and a password. So just copy that command and paste it into the terminal window. And then the next and final thing is to then grant the GITEA user permissions to the Gedia database. And then after that, you just need to flush privileges and exit out of the Mariadb shell. So let me just flush privileges and then exit out of the Mariadb shell. The next thing that we're going to do is to then create a user so we'll actually use this user for everything that is related to Gedia. So just create that user and give that user access to the /home/git directory. So just create that user by running that command. And once you've done that, there are some important directories that you need to create that are also needed by Gedia. So just copy those commands one by one at a time, one line at a time. Just copy and paste them, and you need to make sure you just copy them correctly and you don't make any mistakes. So once you then finish copying these commands, we're actually then going to download the actual GITEA server package from the GITEA official website. So I'm now copying a command to create a directory in the etc Gedia directory, and then to change the owner of that directory to root and Gedia and Git actually, and then to set the permissions of that directory now, and then I'm just going to paste that into my command line interface. Okay, so the directories and the permissions have now been configured. The next thing that we're actually going to do is to actually then download the Gedia package. So just paste in that command, and we're going to be downloading it using wget. So you need to make sure that your distribution, your Fedora 32 has the wget application. So as you can see, we've downloaded Gedia, and the next thing that we're going to do is to set this file to become executable. So just run the command chmod +x Gedia, and then then going to copy that file to the user local bin Gedia directory. So just copy and paste that command to relocate the file to that directory, and then we're then going to create a system service file that will always ensure that Gedia is always running. So just create that file, and then I'm also going to include this configuration that you need to paste into this file in the video description. So you need to copy that configuration, and then you need to paste that configuration into this file. So that just paste that in, and then press Ctrl-O and press Ctrl-X. So we've actually created a Gedia.service file that will actually help us to then make sure that Gedia is always running and accessible from a web browser. So I'm enabling the Gedia service, and then I'm then going to start the service now. So just paste in the command to start the service. And the final thing is to then check the status of the service to see if it's actually running. And then if you paste that in, you should actually see a status of active and running. So we've actually successfully created a Gedia.service, a Gedia service actually, that will ensure that we will always be able to access the Gedia application from a web browser. So the next thing to do is to then open up a web browser and to complete the Gedia web application post-installation setup wizard. But before we do that, we need to update the security group for the GITEA server, and we need to open up port 3000. So click on your instance ID and then click on the security tab. So once you click on the security tab, click under the security groups, just click on that link to go to the security group for your instance. And then once you do that, you now need to then scroll down and click on the edit inbound rules button. So once you click on edit inbound rules, what I need you to do is to click on add rule. So set the port range to 3000, and then you need to select 0.0.0/0 as the source address, and then you just need to click on update rules. So once you do that, just type in the URL that we've just created. In my case, it's going to be Gedia server.abilisofwebservices.com, and then I'm then going to append the port number that we've actually opened up, which is port 3000. And as you can see, we've opened up the initial configuration for the Gedia web application. I'm just going to type in the database username as well as the database password that we actually set during the database creation process, and then just scroll down to the Gedia base URL section, and then you need to set it to your default your domain name actually. So let me just make a correction on the URL there. So that's the base URL, and then expand the administrator account settings section, and then you need to type in an administrator username as well as a administrator password. I also recommend that you also type in an email address, a valid email address, and then you just need to then click on the install Gedia button. So as you can see, the installation is now complete. So this was the first part of this tutorial, and then in the second part I'm then going to show you how to then set up a free Let's Encrypt SSL certificate. So that's been it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this tutorial has been informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.